Hello, thank you for tuning in once again to watch this video. I am in this video going to teach you concept in Java, but on decision control. So the question is, decision control. What is decision control about? Decision control is basically about instances in your code where you would have to execute a part of it when a particular instance is said to be true or false. Okay, so we make use of decision decision controls to provide alternative to direction of the execution of your program. Okay, so you take for example in the banking hall in the banking hall you may want to determine the status of an individual's account. Okay, now the status in this case, you may want to put that the status will be active or inactive. Okay, so in this case, you want to tell if the if it is active. If it is active, let's say some deposit should have been made, the account will be made inactive when it's dormant for let's say 5 months. Okay, so you can tend to understand that this this account status, the account status is based on a condition. A condition should be fulfilled that the account can be either active or inactive. The account is active only when deposit is made into the account. Okay, so your code needs to be able to learn to find if there's a deposit made into the account or there's no deposit. In as much as there is no deposit, it does not necessarily mean that the account is what? Inactive. The account, if you want to tell the account status as inactive, it is also giving a condition that the account is dormant for 5 months. So there could be some deposits made though in the account. It has some amount of money. However, if within an interval of 5 months there had not been either withdrawal or deposit into the account, then you would want to say the account is what? Is inactive. Now, back again on these two instances, either active or inactive, you tend to clearly understand that they were based on a condition or some number of what? Of conditions. So it is these conditions that will determine the control of the flow of what? Of your application. This is decision control. Now in practice in Java, we use the if statement if statement to perform decision control. Okay, so there are several kinds of if statement. We have the simple if, we have the nested if, and we have if else if. Okay, so to help you to clearly understand these three dimensions in the use in the decision control, um instead of teaching it theoretically, I'll be solving some set of questions with you that will help you to practically appreciate the use of simple if, the use of nested if, and then when we have to use if else if. However, the basic construct for if would have if for if, and then you set your condition here. You may or may not have this open and close parenthesis based on the number of statements that you have after you have set the condition. Okay, so if in here is a keyword, what you have within this parenthesis is a condition that you're going to set. That if this condition is true, then this statement would have to be executed. This is a very typical example of the simple if. Okay, so let's use the account status as an example. If it's going to be a simple if we have, let's say, a variable we call it deposit, and deposit is equal to let's say 100. So let's say 100 cedis. Now, by this condition, if you want to tell whether it is active or inactive, we want to say that if deposit is double equal to, the double equal to will mean that you want to compare what is at this side of the equal to symbol with the other at the right side. So you're comparing the left side with the right side of the relative condition that you setting in here. Okay, so so let's use this when there's, let's say, greater than or equal to 1, greater than or equal to 1. By that, we want to say that the account status is what? It's active. So the deposit did not state exactly how much it is supposed to be. Okay, so the condition we can set is that when we check and then the deposit is either equal to 1 or it is greater than 1, then we want to say the account status is equal to what? Equal to active. Okay, so we're making the account active. By this, we have set only one condition. So if this condition is not true, nothing else is executed. Okay, this is a typical example of a simple if. It will be a nested if you have more than one condition put together. Okay, and then the statement is supposed to be executed. So within this, let's say we have another condition here that if, okay, so we set over here that if deposit is greater than or equal to 1, and we want to say that again if deposit is less than or equal to 100, then we want to put the account status as what? As active. So this must be true, and then this must be true. This if statement on line 21 is inside of the if statement in line 19. Okay, by this we want to say the if statement are what? Are nested. This must be true, this must be true before this statement is what? Is executed. Okay, quite apart from that, we can have another if statement here to check if the account is inactive. Okay, the account is inactive in this case when it is dormant for 5 months. Okay, so let's say if you set time, all right, let's simply put, let's say if you have months to be equal to, let's say 4, we're going to compare number of months this time. Oops, what condition did we set? If, okay, so if it is less than 5 months, then we want to say that it is what? Status, the account status is what? Is inactive. So This is not dependent on the fact that the account should have had deposit in it. So whether you have some amount in it or you don't have some amount in it, if you made no deposit and you made also no withdrawal within a span of 5 months, okay, 5 months, then the account status is declared as inactive. Um, okay, so because we put the condition that if it is dormant for 5 months, which means that it should be less than or equal to 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will count. That will bring the count up to 5. Okay, um, we would have an instance. Okay, so in this situation, the product of this is if the input from the user, if it is seen as 4, it means that over here on line 25, months contain the value what 4. So we're going to have something like 4 is less than or equal to 5. Is that true? Yes, 4 is less than 5. Okay, so um that will put the account status to what? To inactive. by by the defined condition that we gave here. It may not fit exactly the situation as it may be happening in the banking hall. This is an assumed theory, an assumed hypothesis that a bank will be working on. So in your code as well, it must relate to the practice, exactly what happens inside of the banking hall. So because now we have this if statement here, and then we have another if statement here, these two conditions are seen to be nested. And typically, this condition is inside of the condition on line numbered 19. Okay, that makes it a nested if statement. There are some other instances where you can have the if else if. So when you have when you have 2 or more conditions for which each of them is supposed to be checked to determine what should be executed, then we use the if else if. So in the subsequent videos, I'm going to use practical um, question example to help us to really relate to how to use the decision controls using simple if, using the nested if, and then if else if in a code. All right, so stay on and then watch the next video. Thank you.